Throughout my life, I've had so much potential, either from people telling me, whether it was coaches, teachers, my own parents, or even in my own experience of being good at stuff early on. When I was around 7 years old, I was running circles around everybody, and even in the classroom as a kid, always being one of the smartest kids in the class. And I didn't even have to study or anything. I could just show up, goof around, get good grades, not even really do the homework. When I played football, basketball, when I ran track, basketball was a big one for me. I played that basically since I can remember. Rec league, church league, competitive for the school. I remember I was in like 6th grade and I made the B team, and it was the coolest thing ever. I don't know if there was any other 6th graders on the B team. And we would go to these basketball camps, and the high school coach would be there, so he could kind of see me develop from 7 years old, 8 years old onward, all the way to being like 18. Going from being the example when we would do a drill, or we needed to show everybody how to do something, I could be called on. When we needed to run a play, I knew the plays. And it was at one of those camps where he first mentioned potential, how potential doesn't really mean anything, and how he's seen so many guys that just never amounted up to what they could be. At the time when you're young, that couldn't be you. You're going to be the guy that goes on to be on varsity and moves on to play college ball or whatever. And I remember I was playing basketball, trying to make the team for the school, and this was senior year now. I showed up to all the conditionings, and when most people would try to skip it, and I realized I was going through the motions a lot in anything, but in sports especially. I would show up and we'd do our conditionings, and it was a lot, but there'd be a mile or two that we'd have to do after we did some running, and there was probably, like 20 of us or 30 of us, and he's just pointing out people, talking about certain people standing out or not performing. And we finished, and the coach says my name and says how, man, you've been here every day, but the results aren't showing. We need to see something. And that was when it really stood out to me that just showing up wasn't going to be enough anymore. Especially like not being really like in the clique with the teams and everything. And it's good to be called out. At least there's plenty of other people who probably were in the exact same boat, but didn't get called out because he didn't really care. But that was when it was really showing that like you need to really do something, or you're not going to be on the team. You're not going to make it. And eventually, I didn't end up making the team, and it was it didn't feel great at the time. I lost my passion for it, but it was eye-opening, and in life is going to be the same exact thing going on. At least that was in my late teens, and I had an idea of, most of your dreams aren't really going to come true, and you have a delusional level of self-worth and value. Like, bro, you weren't going to go pro. It's okay. But at least you can take that experience and apply it to life now, and not go your whole life and realize it 50 years old how I needed to do something different. I kind of learned to enjoy the idea of being good at something. I loved being good at something and not even having to try. I didn't have to practice. I didn't have to review film. I didn't have to go in the weight room. I could just show up and be good. It really burns out quickly. You have to be extremely talented to do something like that. Another type of talented that I'm just not, and most people aren't. And whether it was anything, being good at the drums first starting out, and whether it was racquetball, tennis, basketball, anything, making beats in FL Studio, like just when I could hear when I could hear their beat, and it's like, oh, they've been doing it for a year, and I feel like I did that after a month. It's like, man, I got time. Like, if he's been doing it for a month, or if I'm ahead of the benchmark, then I can kind of not try too much. Or, man, I imagine how good I'm going to be in a year if I'm already this good in a month. And I really let that get to my head, and a lot of people do. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And clearly that's how I've been going through my life. Really taking that to heart, and let these early on examples teach you a lesson, so then you can actually use that for something more important. I'm glad, honestly. I'd prefer to be the guy that isn't seeing crazy progress, that is maybe at the back, who at least has some motivation, or is learning the process, learning the basics, the fundamentals, to then move on, versus somebody who has everything in the beginning and slowly they lose interest.